herself as an indigo child. You know, one of those kids born in the late 70s, early 80s, who were believed to have some special powers. You know, kind of like psychic stuff. Not that she could move things just by looking at it or whatever, but she did have some premonitions, pretty accurate ones. But what was even stranger was that she was my twin sister. We were identical. So whatever special mumbo-jumbo powers she ended up with were somehow mystically not given to me. I would got nothing. The reason they call them indigo children, and I know this because I looked it up. I'm not really into that sort of thing. I'm a Christian. Christ in my life. That's the reason I was invited to come speak to you today. Anyway, I digress. The reason they're called indigo children is because of their sixth chakra, or their energy center, or the third eye chakra. Anyway, it's the color indigo. Like I said, I'm not really into that, obviously. But Riley was. And she was my sister. And we were twins. And sisters share a special bond, right? And twins have a unique, somehow a supernatural bond. For example, when I was 17, I went out on a date with a boy who was the son of the pastor of the Presbyterian church in town. And he was good looking and smart and funny, and he asked me out. Anyway, later on in the night, things got a little uncomfortable, and he put me in a predicament. You know, wanted to fool around. And like I said, I'm a Christian. Do that sort of thing. And he grew up in church. His dad was a pastor. Anyway, Riley sensed that there was something wrong, and so she got on her moped and drove out to Old Pinion Road. And boy, did that cool him down real quick. But the thing was, she knew. Somehow she knew. She told me she had a premonition that something was wrong. And she came. Riley was interesting that way. One thing I forgot to mention about Riley was that she was a tomboy. You know, a tomboy. There was unique differences between us when we were kids. Anytime we would play on the playground or go out to the woods, I was always the princess or the mommy, and Riley was always the cowboy or the daddy. She was just adventurous. She always had grass stains on her pants or ripped out knees. She was adventurous. One time at school on the playground, Clint Duffy, the school bully, called her a lassie. I was so mad. I ran up to defend her, arm cocked back, punch him in the mouth. And Riley stopped me, looked at me and said, "It's not his fault." So we went off and played underneath the slide. Later that week, Clint was taken away by Child Protective Services because his parents were in jail for selling drugs. We never saw Clint again. And I felt really bad. But Riley, she knew. She knew he wasn't a bad kid. He was just acting out and being a bully because of a bad home life. Riley was unique that way. She was a peacekeeper and a nurturer. She always once told me, said, "I don't have time for hate. I only have time for love." Another time we went to a college campus visit. She always took care of me that way. Said she was my big sister, even though she was delivered only 17 seconds before I was. But anyway, we were touring the campus and walking through the dorms, and all of a sudden Riley stopped, looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Mama's gone." Instantly, we ran to the admissions office and tried to call home, but no one answered. So we tried our neighbors, the Daughtry's, and their phone was disconnected. And that was weird. So we tried home again, and our phone line was disconnected. I got goosebumps. We knew something was wrong. So we jumped in the car and drove straight home. For 3 hours, never said a word. We just drove the whole time in quiet, wondering, waiting. Had we had the radio on, we probably would have found out sooner. This was before unlimited text messaging and everyone had a smartphone. But Riley knew. She saw the whole thing. She knew somehow. A tornado hit Green Grove at 2:13 in the afternoon. There was no warning. It all happened so fast. And Mama and everything we had was gone. Almost everyone we knew in town was gone. The Dairy Queen and the gymnasium that had just been attached to the Methodist church in town was all that remained standing. The church was gone, but the gymnasium was still there. Riley knew. After that, everything changed. Life changed. That fall, I went to college at Montclair to study nursing, surviving on scholarships and grants. Riley, not being the school type, went in the Army. We always joked she was never the studious type. She always had trouble in school, trouble paying attention, not doing her homework. Boy, did she have a mouth on her. Oh, she hated the teachers condescending to her. No one was going to tell her what to do. Not me, not no one. She had an authority figure problem. So, the Army was a perfect place for a psychic tomboy with an authority pump. That fall, I focused on math and science, and it was hard. Riley focused on boot camp and finishing her specialization with distinction. That Christmas, she called me. I was so excited. She had been selected for an elite group to travel to Iraq, the Al-Anbar province. There, she would be building a school for the children there and protecting the town. Al-Anbar was not a dangerous zone, so they called it a sleepy town. So it was a lucky thing for her. I told her I was proud of her, and I loved her. And she told me she loved me too, and that she knew everything was going to work out okay. On January 12th, the temperature was 114 degrees in Al-Anbar. On campus at Montclair, it was -3. At 4:10 in the morning, I woke from a deep sleep, shut up straight in my bed, and whispered to myself, Riley's gone. And she was. The town had been overrun by Al-Qaeda. And Riley, along with all the students, teachers, and her fellow soldiers, were beheaded. Their bodies burned while the townspeople were forced to watch. I'm often asked if I hate those who did those things to her. Do I hate the politicians who sent her there? Do I hate those terrorists, the murderers? And I pause, I smile politely, and I say, I have no energy or time for hate. My time here is for love. That's what Riley taught me. And you know, for a hippie, new age, lesbian soldier, she was the most Christian person